Live with the Benona Buck B Money podcast number 27. Unbelievable. I can't believe we've done 27 of these stupid things. Talking about nothing for hours, and they're all like 2 to 3 hours, sometimes almost 4 hours. So 27 podcasts. That's cool. Someday we'll probably be saying 2,700. Someday. So I am joined again today. We got to do 12 questions a few days ago with our friend MJ. So MJ's back on the pod right now. She is. MJ, tell us about what you're doing and what just happened in your household.
Oh my gosh. So I have an American Akita. So he's basically a guard dog, hunting dog, family dog. He's a big furry thing. And we have a whole bunch of acres of woods. Like, we live, like, way out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, when I agreed to come on this podcast, and then Teddy decided, that's his name, Teddy decided he was going to come into the house, and he is covered in pickers and jumped in my bed.
Oh, my gosh.
So currently,
you're not going to be able to go to bed.
Trying to bust this big fur ball.
Yeah.
And get all these pickers out of him, which are now stuck to my butt.
We'll take some time and do that. I got some things that I was going to talk about. You want me to do that while you continue to de-picker Teddy? It's probably going to take some time, huh?
Well, I have like 3 different brushes for him.
Okay.
So I'm making some pretty good progress if he'd stop trying to bite me.
He's biting you the whole time.
Well, he's got games.
Yeah.
He's trying to play.
Yep. Oh, Teddy. Running out into the wild. And is there snow, too? Is he, like, running through the snow and getting into prickers? What's going on over there in your part of the world in northern Michigan? In Michigan.
We
in the north.
We have about 7 inches of snow here right now.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so we've been kind of out playing in the snow in the woods, and he likes to play with his deer friends, and so he's been out running around.
Oh, Teddy.
But okay, I think I'm pretty good on that.
Okay, what a catastrophe! And it happened literally right when I was calling you to do the pod. This happened. So you're hearing MJ with tons of stress.
Yeah, I agreed to do the pod, and then all of a sudden he came in a hot mess. So I'm like, oh, give me 10 minutes, hang on. But I think we're okay now. I'll just have to change my bedding later.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we won't keep you forever. Let's do 30 minutes on the pod. I'm gonna do. I have a whole bunch more of these dumb questions that Rose hated it. She hated my questions. They were the dumbest questions. So I've been so motivated to get back to this Huffington Post list of questions and just dive back into it, get balls deep into some of these dumb questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's keep it up, because I know whenever we can piss off Rose by asking dumb questions, why not keep it up, So this is from a Huffington Post list called 101 Fun and Interesting Questions to Perk Up Boring Gatherings. So we all know this is a boring gathering on the Benona Bug podcast. So let's perk it up by asking MJ some more fun questions. So I think we were at number 12. Yeah, we stopped with, which of your friends are you proudest of and why? And it brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so much for choosing me. You could have chose anyone in the world, and you chose me. Okay.
I cannot tell a lie.
Let's start back in with number 13. Okay, MJ, are you ready for this one? Take a breath.
Yep.
Take a really deep breath first and clear your energy. Breathe deep.
Okay.
Take a deep breath so that we get this. There's a lot of stress. There's the energy. Teddy's a wild man. Okay. What's the most beautiful place you've ever been?
The most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yep.
Well, every place I've been has been for work, so there wasn't really much sightseeing. But I'm a huge fan of warm weather, palm trees, things like that, nature in general.
Mm-hmm.
So the only place I've been that was not for work was Southwest Florida.
Oh, look it.
And I loved it. I almost moved there. Do you remember?
Yeah. The beaches here are the best. The beaches in Southwest Florida are the best. And I took you to an island beach. And there was nobody there. And the beach is natural and perfect. And there's fucking palm trees. And it's totally tropical. The water is blue and clear. And it's amazing. And then I took you to the world famous Siesta Key Beach as well. And there's lots of people there. The sand is like powder. The water's clear.
We went to Venice Beach. We went to Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
We went everywhere.
So your most beautiful place is Southwest Florida. What a great win. We win the Super Bowl and we win MJ's most beautiful place in the world. Okay. Cool, man. Okay, number 14. What are your 3 favorite movies?
My 3 favorite movies?
Yeah, what's your 3 favorite movies?
I watched Grease like a million times when I was younger. With John Travolta?
Yeah. Grease
So
Lightning.
that's a good solid
So
one.
Grease is on your list, okay.
I like Step Brothers.
Oh, that's such a great... Are you choosing that because you know I love Step Brothers and John C. Reilly's literally
Step
my
Brothers.
neighbor? He's my neighbor. He's my neighbor up in my cottage in Michigan. He's the next FedEx stop from mine. John C. Reilly from Step Brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the other character, not Will Ferrell, but the other guy, the goofy dude. Yeah, he's my neighbor.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's fun. I thought you were doing this on purpose, like how the other day I thought you were picking Michael Jackson.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
No, I love Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Oh, fantastic. Great choice, by the way. Wow. This is... No wonder we're friends. I don't even know some of this stuff about you. I don't know, but you're like, who's your favorite bands? And 2 of them, one was AC/DC, which would be on my list, and one was Michael Jackson, which would also be on my list. You're kicking ass.
Yeah.
I think you're just doing it for me, but I guess you're not. I guess you're really telling the truth.
Yeah, I cannot tell a lie.
Okay.
So the third movie, I don't know. I like comedies a lot.
Yeah. What comes to mind
But
for you?
Grease was obviously not a comedy, but
Grease is a really cool fucking movie. I used to watch, when I was in like 9th grade, I was watching Grease. It's a good movie.
yeah, I mean, I watched it all the time.
Yep. It motivated me to get in for high school, Grease did.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank on the third one right now. We might have to
Come back
to
to it. Let's circle back to that one at some point. Okay. Where the hell was I? That was, what are your favorite? Number 15, MJ. How would you describe me to your friends?
How would I describe you?
MJ, how would you describe me to your friends?
I usually say, because I talk about you all the time, I love you, like we said
No,
last time.
you don't. You do?
Yeah, absolutely. Fun-loving. One of my favorite things that you would always do
Huh?
was, like, make people uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, you didn't... that wasn't your intention, per se. But, like, you would go up to people just randomly. We'd be walking down the street. You don't know this person. You'd literally walk right up to them, look them right in the eye, and go, "Hi, I'm Brandon." Or I'm... Sorry.
You
Not
can say
Brandon.
whatever you want. Yeah, that's my nickname. That's my nickname.
I'm Buck.
Yeah.
Anyway, hi, I'm Buck. and then they just kind of look at you funny, like, hi,
Why are you
I'm
talking to
so
me?
and so, and
Yeah.
you're like, I really like your shirt today, and they're like, okay, thanks. Like, totally catch people off guard, like all the time. Just strike up random conversations with people.
Yeah.
But love that about you. But basically, I say that you're very successful. I love your positive energy. I love your attitude. I love you helping other people all the time. I just
Can't you think of
proud
more
of
things
you.
than this? This is too few.
what?
You need any better things than these terrible things you're saying about me? Don't you have some like better things to say? I'm joking. I'm joking. You're saying things that are making me blush.
Oh,
Yeah, you're saying really
yeah, no,
amazing
I talk about
things.
you all the time.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea. That's really nice. Very kind of you to say these things.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's how you describe me to your friends. They must think that I'm a cool guy then, a good guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really don't have many friends, but I used to talk to people all day, every day
Yeah, for
in
sure.
my profession, you know?
Yeah, and you told them about your friend Buck. Your friend,
Now I live way out in the woods.
uh-huh, where your dog's got damn prickers all in their butthole because they've been rolling around in the snow prickers.
Oh, this kid.
Okay,
When the
let's
sun
go.
goes down, he's out.
Now that you made me blush with all these nice things you said, okay, let's go to number 16. MJ,
Okay.
which historical figure would you like to be like? Or would you like to be? Which historical figure all throughout history could you see yourself being? In a different life, let's change it, let's add to it. If it throughout it in a different life, which historical figure would you see yourself being or would you like to be?
Which historical figure?
Yeah.
Basically like a famous person that's passed on.
Or anybody,
history.
anyone over time, like all the way back to, like, you could be Cleopatra, you could be, whoever, the Queen of England, you could be a slave that got transported to America. Anything you want, you get to pick. And why?
I would like to be Venus, the goddess of love.
Oh, and why? Your life would consist of a lot of love.
I have a distinct connection to the Greek-Roman time period.
Okay.
Number one. The history of the Greek-Roman.
Yeah.
And, have a direct connection to.
Mm-hmm.
And then Venus, the goddess of love, obviously beautiful.
Yeah. Which you are beautiful.
And
Yep.
how do I word this without being vulgar?
You would be responsible for love being passed around through the whole Rome, through the whole world, right? Isn't that what Venus did? Like, what was her thing? Wasn't it?
Venus was a goddess of love. Like, she was, also Aphrodite,
Yeah.
but
I don't think anyone you know will listen to this unless you share it to them. If you share this link to them and you say some vulgar things, then they might know. They might know, okay? But if you don't, there's only like 30, 50 people that listen to this, and we know a few of them. So just go wild. This is Girls Gone Wild, Southwest Florida. Go ahead. Go for it. Say whatever you want. This is the end.
I'm a very loving person.
Yeah.
We'll G-rate it.
Yeah. So you would want everyone to have love. And you yourself would want to experience love in Rome.
Yeah, I would like to be that symbol of just, being beautiful and, giving and receiving love.
That's beautiful.
Sounds corny because I'm trying to keep it G-rated, but you know what I'm saying.
I think, no, the way you said it's perfect. Yeah. I love that. I'm going to come back and listen to this just to see how did you tiptoe around this answer you were going to give. I thought it was going to be something like, wild and crazy, but that's a nice answer. And we can even play it in church. Okay. Number 17, MJ. What? Number 17. What's the right age to get married?
Oh my gosh, do not do it before 30.
Never get married before 30. And why?
Never. Okay, so people enter their Saturn return, if you know anything about astrology, when they're about late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what your Saturn return is, it's basically like you're young, right? You're trying to figure your life out. You are a certain way, and then all of a sudden, like, when you become in your late 20s to early 30s, you turn into a completely different person, and that's who you end up being for the rest of your life.
Mm.
So if you get married too young, a lot of people don't make it because they enter this shift.
They're not fully developed. So you're
30s.
saying they're like
you don't even know who you are. Like, you're just starting out in your career. Like, you have no idea who you are. Like,
or who you're gonna be.
Who
you're gonna be. So you don't think these kids should get married at 18 years old? Then you think that's way too young? When you're 18, you shouldn't even think of getting married.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is like a slim chance, of course, that like things can work out and you can grow together and move on. But I mean, that person that you married is going to make a shift in their late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself are going to make a shift. And if you don't, like, shift together, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, my dad likes to talk about the two when two people they're on the same path. There's two roads, and their roads are going the same way. And maybe by the time from you're like 20 to 30, one person's road is shifted and the other person's road is shifted, and then you're growing far apart. There's two roads,
so
Buck. This is what he says.
Spend the rest of your life miserable.
Yeah.
Or you get divorced, or there's like that 2% chance that you can figure it out, you know?
There's two roads, Buck. You and her are going down the same path. There's two paths. And over time, hey, maybe one person's path diverts. Maybe both divert. Yep, G Money, my dad, used to tell me all this story.
Yep.
So if you do it too early, like you said, maybe at 30, I didn't even think 30's young. I think 35, but then obviously, no, that don't make sense because a lot of people want to have children earlier. Now, us, you or I, neither of us have done that. We've had businesses.
28 to 32.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
We've had businesses. That was our children. And so we're a little different. And maybe we'll have children. Maybe we won't. But that's interesting. Yeah, the right age to get married, MJ says 30 years old. Don't get married till you're 30. Okay, MJ. Number 18.
Yeah.
Tell me 3 things that you remember about kindergarten.
Okay, I had the best teacher ever, and I actually ended up doing her hair. My kindergarten teacher.
Oh, really?
But anyway, yeah. She recently passed away within the last year, but that was pretty sad.
Sorry to
but
hear
anyway, she was very hands-on. So, like, I remember kindergarten, which to me is important because, like I discussed before, like, don't make me sit there and try to behave like I can't.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she taught the class was great because it was, like, super interactive. Like, she understood that we were little kids, we were busy, we wanted to do stuff. Like, she had these, like, I remember them being, like, tables that they were, like, maybe 2 inches deep.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, like, a border around them. And there was all these different, like, dried noodle pastas and different colors and stuff. And we would, like, make all kinds of arts and crafts all the time. And, like, we were just always doing things and being creative. And I think maybe it's her fault that I'm creative.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe she helped you to develop. So you remember things about her in particular, your teacher, and you remember the crafts things that she had for you guys. That's amazing.
And I remember, even in my adult life, talking to her, and she still had, like, such a passion for what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she loved the kids, and she loved what she did. And I just thought, like, I felt that, obviously, as a child. Like, I loved going.
So
It
you
was
would
going to be
say
fun.
most of if for the answer to three things you remember, most have to do with this amazing teacher who then you had this nice relationship with and cut her hair
Yeah, she
and
was great.
she's totally
She
influenced
loved
you.
what she did. She put everything into what she did, and you could tell it made you want to go and learn.
Did you ever
The
tell
way that
her,
she
I
taught
think
me.
that you have helped me to be so creative? Did you tell her that? I think you helped me to be so creative.
I told her that she was my favorite teacher.
Oh.
Like I remember. I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember a lot of things because most things are irrelevant or important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like not important,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that I remember so much from her being so young, and they were all good memories.
Yeah.
Like that kind of says a lot.
I can't remember anything from kindergarten. Nothing. I don't remember any of it. But also, again, for the audience always
You
knows.
obviously had like a huge impact.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a traumatic brain injury, probably. So I can't remember anything. It's hard to go back past high school. Middle school, maybe. Okay, MJ. That was a great answer, by the way. Okay, MJ. Next, MJ, what paper, so back when you were in school, what paper that you've written are you most proud of? It could be, I'm also going to open it up. If you ever did a project or if there was something you did, it could be something to do with your profession too, back when you were training. What paper or project or something to do with training or learning are you most proud of?
I don't even know if I want to give this answer, but like it's a true, honest answer.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college English class in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sat next to this girl in like 2 or 3 of my classes, okay, in high school. We weren't really friends, but like I was just kind of nice and talked to everybody, whatever. Not like we hung out. And she would always ask me about my sister and her boyfriend, which I kind of thought was odd, and obviously I didn't give, like, extreme detail.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister's boyfriend was, like, graduated. He was older, and my sister was graduated. So I thought, well, this is kind of strange, but, like, vague answers, whatever. I'm a nice person. Come to find out, my sister comes to the school, and one day, and she looks at me. I get called down to the office, and my family's huge, so at first I thought, oh, God, what happened? Who died? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in the office, and I see my sister, and she looks at me, and she says, did you know? I said, did I know what? And she told me that her boyfriend was cheating on her for, like, 2 years with this person.
Whoa. Why was he still dating your sister?
So my sister didn't know, she just found out.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So she came to me like, hey, did you know? Because apparently the whole school knows and the teachers.
Hmm.
And I was like, nope, sure didn't, but we're about to go mafia style.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I go to my college English class, and I shit you not, this was like creative writing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the topic was, write about something that someone did to you that made you upset. This was the next hour after and this girl sat right behind me, okay, in my college English class. So I wrote this whole entire situation, story down. I didn't say her name at all, okay? So then the teacher says, who wants to read theirs out loud? Me, raise my hand. So I'm reading this whole thing out loud, okay?
Yeah.
This girl, like, the whole room is, like, silent and has this, like, look on their face of, like, holy crap. So this girl gets up, runs out of the room. I'm like, I didn't say your name. Like, I don't know what her deal is, right? She
Yeah.
runs out of the room, goes to the office, right?
Mhm.
I get done, and my teacher looks at me, and she's like, that was so mean. And I said, what do you mean so mean? I was like, she made her bed, now she's got to lie in it. I didn't say her name. She just told on herself. And she's like, you need to go to the office. So then I had to spend
You torched that bitch.
in the liaison officer's office. I couldn't be in any class with her because she was terrified I was going to kill her,
my
which
gosh.
I might have. But anyway, I'm
Wow.
most proud of that moment.
Well, congratulations on that for standing up for your sister. In a small school too, a very small school. So every single person in the school.
I feel like I did it in a classy way, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot help the synchronicity of things that happen.
It was a made-for-TV moment. It was made in your life. That happened for the reason it did. That's how would that ever happen? There's no coincidence.
I
Yeah.
was like, wow, here's my opportunity to get this off my chest in a classy way.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Wow, amazing.
But my sister was right. The whole school and the teachers did know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because the teacher told me I was mean for doing that, and I was like, really, me? I'm not the whore here.
Yep. That's interesting.
So,
What a story.
there's that.
What a story. No one that listens to this will ever forget it. What a great story. Truly. I don't even know if I should ask any more questions. That was just like the cherry on top. That was amazing. My next question is very dumb. I want you to think about this, though, MJ.
Oh, okay.
This is a question I would never ask. I almost even skipped it, okay? What would you do if you were
Okay.
invisible for a day? If you were invisible for a day, what would you do?
Invisible?
Yeah. What would you do if
sorry,
you were
putting wood in my
invisible?
fireplace.
Yeah, invisible for a day.
Invisible. I don't know. Probably just be naked all day.
Yeah, you could just go to the store naked. You could go to Kroger.
Yeah.
You could go to Kroger nude and do your shopping. And
Yeah.
and not even pay for the stuff. They would just see a cart full of groceries just going out with nobody on the cart.
Yeah, I would just be naked all day long, doing whatever the hell I wanted to do.
Well, that's cool.
Because no one
Just-
would see me.
Just stay home and be naked. You don't have to go to Kroger. Okay, dumb question. Let's move on to the next one. MJ,
All right.
number 21. Who would you like to live like for a day?
Live like.
Live like. Who would you like to live like for a day? Is there someone out there that you see that's living a certain way that's, maybe they have bodyguards, maybe they have, maybe you want to live like the president, maybe you want to live like Kanye and Kim. Maybe you just want to be yourself.
Yeah, no, I don't really want fame and all that. I would like to have money without the fame.
Yeah. Rich, not famous is always the answer. Rich, not famous.
Yeah. I would say I would want to live like me, like I'm living right now, but have money and not be famous.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. And not just for a day. We'll change it for life. Okay. Okay, number 22, MJ. If you could time travel, where would you go in history? And why?
I would go to Rome, Italy.
Back in the day, huh? And go see how things were. What would you do there in Rome?
I feel like it's the time period of, like, the gladiators and all of that, just like when all of Rome kind of like took over,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would want to go there.
Our second Rome answer,
And
amazing.
about that time period, yeah.
This is a real good spot. That's why when you come here and I take you to the Roman, the Italian restaurants, and you're right at home.
Yeah.
Vittorio brings out a limoncello. When you go, when a guy comes in, Vittorio, when a man comes in with two beautiful women, you gotta give him the limoncello. Yep.
And he's right.
Yep. When you come in with two beautiful
he's
women.
It's so hard to get me to move there. Vittorio.
Yep. Okay, next question, number 20, and that was number 22. A good number for you too, the last one I gave you, the time travel. Okay, number 23. MJ, if you could live in any TV home, any home on a television show that you like or watch, what home would it be? What TV home? I'm going to guess Steve Urkel's. You would be right there in Family Matters.
No, I would not.
Okay.
A TV home?
Yeah, a TV home.
I don't watch much TV. That's, I mean, my TV's always on, like, HGTV or TLC.
Oh, you're going to live in a home you saw on a TV show.
Unless
That's
my
nice.
man meets home, then it's always on, like, History and Discovery, you know?
Yeah. So no TV home. You're going to pass.
I don't have one. I don't
MJ,
have an answer for
next.
that, no.
We're going to circle back to that. Next. Number 24. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Butter pecan.
That's a nice sounding. I could go for some of that right now. True. When's the last time you had butter pecan ice cream?
I'm not a chocolate girl. Like, I know that sounds weird, but, like, I'm not a chocolate girl.
There's so many.
Really
There's probably
scared of
thousands. There's probably thousands of ice cream flavors. Butter pecan's a good flavor. And when is the last time you had that?
Oh, it's been a long time. 'Cause I don't eat things like that. I mean,
Plus, it's
pretty much
winter.
eat healthy.
Plus, it's 7 degrees where you are, so maybe you're not wanting to eat ice cream.
No, but, like, I feel like when I want to have a fat day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like straight up Italian food.
Yeah.
Bread, pastas, wine, just fat as hell and super happy. But, you know.
What's your most embarrassing childhood memory? Your most embarrassing childhood memory.
I don't really get embarrassed. I don't have one of those either.
What's your best childhood memory?
I'm not doing well.
You're
tonight.
doing well. Some of these don't pertain to you. These, like Rose said, these are very dumb questions, but some of these give us insight into who you are, and it makes us personally think about things for ourselves, and it's lighthearted and good and cool. So, what is your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory.
Mm-hmm.
When my dad came home from work.
Each day?
Every day I'd look forward to it.
Yep. Daddy's home. And what would you guys do when he would get home?
We would play all the time. Like, we would just play all the time. Like, I would see his car pulling, I would run outside, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, we were always outside, like, we were always doing things. My dad was the one that, he'd put my hair in pigtails, he would braid my hair.
Yep.
You know, like my dad, he was just.
You guys would practice.
Friend, so
you would practice softball
everything
together.
We did was cool. Like he played USSSA travel softball.
Mm-hmm.
And we traveled a lot when I was young, like for his softball tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, and
Like
then
my
yours.
parents got married between states and nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would practice, like he'd take me with him, and I would practice with like grown-ass men from the time I was like 5 years old, like
Wow.
out there catching fly balls and, you know, playing catch with everybody. And, you know, so I would say that's probably like my best childhood memory was just everything I did with my dad. And, yeah.
Cool, man.
Basically did softball from the time I was 5 years old with grown-ass men.
I remember you guys. I remember your dad seeing you guys practicing together a lot when I would be around and stuff, and he would be practicing with you, even like random times, even up at the high school and stuff. I would see him. It seemed like he was very involved.
Yeah.
He was super duper involved in your life.
Super involved. Like, even he traveled a lot for work, but I don't remember him ever, like, not being there for something important. So even though he was gone, I remember, like, crying, you know, every time he had to leave. Like, I would fake like I was sick, so he would, like, sit up with me in the hallway feeding me crackers and Coca-Cola. You know, or I would fake like I had a nightmare so I could sleep with him that night because I knew he was leaving the next day.
That's so cute. So parents out there, a lot of people are like, don't have kids because they never call you, they never come see you, they don't care. Look if you have a kid and you love them and you play with them every day and spend time with them, and Melissa, MJ, MJ showed me a picture today where she called her dad like 74 times in one day.
I talked to him till midnight last night.
Yeah.
And I texted him this morning. I said, do you miss me yet? And he's like, I need a nap.
Yeah, you had him on the phone all day.
I talked to him 3 times today.
Yep. So that's amazing. What a relationship. What a great relationship. You're so blessed and he's so blessed. It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that a daughter and a father, because there's a lot of them that don't have a good relationship. A lot of people out there that don't get to have.
Well, and we're very much alike. So there's definitely times too where we butt heads, right? Because he wanted to tell me how to do things, or tell me this, or tell me that, and not suggest. If you suggest something, I'll like think about it and go, oh,
nah, he knows what's right.
Idea.
You just listen to Dad. He knows all the right things.
Tell me to do something, or you tell me how to do something, I mean, I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Just because you told me, you know?
Yep.
So we butt heads a little bit, you know, but for the most part, like, best friends.
Yeah. I think that's like for a lot of us. Like for me, I was a lot like my dad, and we just didn't get along. When I was growing up in school, we didn't get along, and now we're like great friends. I go hang out like Tuesdays. This Tuesday I didn't go because he's sick right now, and also I'm here taking care of Professor Bam. But usually every Tuesday, when you told me today that you were watching Oak Island, that's the thing I do with my dad. Is every Tuesday after work, about between 7 and 8 p.m., I drive over to his house, and I sit there, and he says, "Hey, Buck, have a seat." Every day he says the same thing. "Have a seat. Take the good chair, Buck." And he has me sit in this leather chair, and we sit there, and we watch this Oak Island. "Oh, you won't believe it, Buck, but they switched the shows around. Beyond Oak Island is now on first, and there's some other show that we're going to watch tonight." So we watch Beyond Oak Island, and then we watch some other fucking show, and we talk, and the computer's broken again, Buck. I'm not sure why. I don't know what's happened. It won't turn on. Is it plugged in, Dad? Well, I didn't think of that one. It's not plugged in. So.
I love the voice you make for him.
That's my dad. Yep, my dad. "Buck, would you like a cold one? Let me mix you up a cold one, Buck." And he pours me a cold one. Very strong drinks we have. Bacardi and Coke with a twist of lime. Silver. The one with no sugar. Is it Bacardi and Ultra or Silver? It's one of the ones. Let's have a cold one, a nightcap. Can I get you a nightcap, Buck? Yes, Dad. Let's have a nightcap.
Fantastic.
Yep. So it's good. But yeah, so now we're all close and everything, and you need to listen to your dad. You need to stop butting heads with him. He's so smart. Whatever he tells you, just go with it. Yep. Always trust Dad.
First of all, anytime I did anything stupid, or like before or after the fact, right? So if I did something stupid and I didn't think about it first, he'd look at me and go, "Now did that make sense? Use your head."
Of course he did.
And so I was brought up to use my head, think before I do things, well thought out plans, don't act on emotion or impulsively, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when when he would tell me things, like, to do, I would stop and I would think, and I'm like, you know what? No, I have my own head. And then we would butt heads because I didn't want to listen to him.
He taught you that. He taught you to think about it. But he's so smart. I even like his advice. He has such good advice. So I have so many good memories of going to your softball games, watching you play, and talking to your dad. Such a fine human being. Such a wonderful man. And you should just listen.
Pretty much everyone that's ever met him, he leaves an impression on.
Oh,
know?
He sure did. He left a deep impression. Such a wonderful man. Such a great friend. I would consider him and your mom such great friends. You know, great people.
Oh yeah, my mom she has such a good heart too.
Yep.
See, my mom's way more sensitive and
totally
I'm
unique.
kind of more rational.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice and obviously my dad is that way too because we're a lot alike. But so it was nice to have that option, right? Like depending on what you're going through in life, that you had the option you had a super emotional, caring, like hard on the sleeve parent, you know, and then you had the other one that thinks like you, where you emotionally attached to like nothing. However, you know, when you do let somebody in, then they're in forever.
Yep.
But I mean, I might have like 3-4 people maybe, you know, that can actually hurt me or affect me or offend me or upset me, you know. But majority, I'm like, meh, that sucked, and then I move on.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's good. It's perfect. I think this was a fantastic. I even once I asked this question, this was like 10 minutes ago. I already knew. I asked this question and I shut off my thing. I was like, this is going to be it. We're going to go down a long path on this question. It's going to be perfect. It's a good way to close out the interview. I got tons more questions, so you're going to have to keep coming back on. But I know for today, this was a good way to. It lifted my spirit thinking about it. Just thinking about it. Thinking about you and your parents, even your sister, even Lacey. I don't hate on you, Lacey. Are you listening to this? Lacey, can you hear me? Are you out there? You're fantastic too. Here in my house, we love your family, your whole family. Fantastic. I almost said the last name on accident, so I'm not going to do that. But we love.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Don't worry.
Remember, I want to be rich, but not famous.
Well, good. You could literally come on here and say your social security number. We have 36 people that watch the pod. So you're not going to be ever famous coming here, at least not for a long time. Maybe someday. Maybe there's a day where the podcast becomes more popular, but that's going to be a long time in the future. So, man, you're amazing.
Well, it is if you put that energy out there.
The energy is fantastic. You know that I always believe. I believe in the things I do. But I also am not doing this for that. I do this mostly for myself. It's almost like, people go hire a counselor and they go pay him hundreds of dollars just so they can sit in a chair and talk. And they can counselor asks them dumb questions like this. Like I'm your counselor. I'm interviewing you and you get to speak. And then it also helps me because then I literally, by you talking, I've taken a trip back 20 years. I got to go back in time 20 years and feel the feeling of being there at your games. I loved your softball games, talking to your dad. I got to go on trips with you. It got to take my mind. I got to go to Rome, Italy. I got to think about Venus. I got to do all these cool things. So it was like I should be paying you to do this. It was amazing.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. You should be paying me, or I should be paying you.
There's definitely some questions I didn't have answers for, though, so sorry about that.
Some days I think some of them were dumb. What would I do if I was invisible for a day? I don't fucking know. I don't want to be invisible. How about that? Yeah, I don't really want to be in anyone's life either. There are a lot of questions that maybe they're interesting to someone. To me, they're not. To you, they're not. And that's okay. I didn't make these up. The Huffington Post did. So.
I feel like most people would want to be naked all day if they were invisible.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of people could relate to that, right?
Yeah, you could be. Yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah, and you could do things and you wouldn't have to wear clothes.
Yeah.
Yep. MJ's a person that would just, if she could be on a nude beach, she would. She's a nudist. What can I tell you?
If only if I was invisible.
Invisible nudist. Yep.
I would be nude in Rome, Italy.
And that brings us to our sponsor for today. You can visit DannyDuncan69.com and get your t-shirts that say Virginity Rocks and things like Practice Safe Sex. Remember, go to DannyDuncan69.com and tell them Benona Buck sent you. And as for this interview with MJ, we're calling it an interview. This has been amazing. I'm going to shut you down, MJ, and I'm going to give Rose Clarity a call to continue the pod. It's been amazing. You've been amazing. Get the hell off my podcast now. All right, I'll text you. I'll text you later. See ya. Bye. Okay. That was MJ. She's amazing. Happy to have her on the pod anytime. And we're going to try Rose Clarity. Let's see if she's available. It's just after 10. I told Rose, I'll be calling you around 10. Could be a little before, could be a little after. So let's see if she's available. Well, hello, Rose.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing all right.
All right. See, I'm right on time. Just after 10.
I see.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing okay.
Let's rock and roll. I know you got all kinds of stuff to talk about today on the pod.
How do you know that?
Because you said you were coming up with everything. I talked to you at 7 o'clock. You said, yeah, I got to come up with some stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
But you haven't talked to me since. How do you know I came up with anything?
I believe you did. I believe. Yep, I believe you did. There's all kinds of shit to talk about. If not, I got the Babylon Bee we can dive into. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world right now. The Trump impeachment happened today, or it began.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to do, if you didn't have anything, I literally have the 70-something page document. And we might do this anyways. It's fucking amazing. The Trump lawyers, I got a copy of it. I got the literal, the trial, the document in hand. So I could read word for word the whole document of their case. And
I figured I'd let you cover the Trump impeachment since you'd probably do a better job of it than me if you want to get into that.
Let's do that. I'll do that tomorrow. I think it's going to be going on for a few days. So I might read it.
It's definitely going to take some time to get through that.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And also we had a guest a guest today too. So whenever we have a guest, pretty much know that we'll roll into the pod. And I personally am taking it like whenever we have a guest and I do like a nice long interview, we'll roll in and then I'll kind of pass you the ball because I know you have a lot of stuff you want to get to. So.
Okay, well, the first thing is something that came across my social media, and I was like, what the hell? It's a story out of Wisconsin. This is from KB. I went to the original source. Mm-hmm. It's from KBJ
WAR6.com. It's a Wisconsin news source, I guess.
Gotcha.
Court rules enough probable cause to charge Douglas County 12-year-old with attempted first-degree intentional homicide by Kevin Jacobson.
Douglas County 12-year-olds? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. This is crazy.
Superior, Wisconsin. There's enough evidence to charge a 12-year-old Salon Springs boy with attempted first-degree intentional homicide, a Douglas County judge ruled during a preliminary court hearing Wednesday. According to the criminal complaint, the 12-year-old stabbed his 7-year-old brother 4 times, once in the back, twice in the abdomen, and once near the heart. The victim told police his brother did it, and that he put a pillow over his face during the attack, so no one would hear him scream. He told police, "I was dead for a while." The alleged attack happened on January 11th at a home in the town of Salon Springs. The 12-year-old is currently being held at the Northwest Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Eau Claire.
That brother's crazy, mental. That brother's mental.
Yeah. Sounds pretty mental. The victim is said to be doing okay. In Wisconsin, juveniles over the age of 10 who commit the crime of attempted first-degree intentional homicide are attempted first-degree intentional homicide are first sent to adult court. A judge could decide to send it back to juvenile court. The hearing on that decision is scheduled for March 5th. Yeah, I saw this. I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah. That's
what
crazy.
What the fuck would possess a 12-year-old kid to stab his younger brother like that?
The devil would possess him? Evil spirits? Yep. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow. That took the wind out of me hearing that.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's in Wisconsin. That's, what's going on with kids these days?
They're just stabbing each other. Huh? We don't know why. Why did he do it?
Doesn't say why. I'd like to know why. Why? Because the psychology of kids with their violence is interesting subject to me.
Yep.
But beyond speculation, I'm sure it's pretty hard to figure out what was going on.
Yep. Murdering to stab someone to try to kill them is different. Most siblings get into things where they throw snowballs or, whatever, pillow fights or maybe even beat each other with a wiffle bat or something. But to stab,
I don't know
kill.
if that is, I guess.
Yeah, they do that. Boys do. Boys do all kinds of wild stuff. Oh, for sure. That's a normal thing. But something is wrong with that kid. That kid needs to be... And his brother survived, though, right? He stabbed him, but he survived.
Yeah, he survived. The boy was able to tell the police that the brother put a pillow over his face so people wouldn't hear him scream. And the 7-year-old boy is quoted as saying, "I was dead for a minute." So I don't know if he actually was dead for a minute or if it's a 7-year-old not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, that's crazy. He could have went into shock. Anything.
Yeah, it looks like he was stabbed 3 times.
Yeah.
4 times. Once in the back, twice in the abdomen, and once near the heart.
I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad it didn't hit the right stuff. Yeah, I'm glad he's okay. What's your thoughts?
That 7-year-old kid is going to have to grow up knowing his brother tried to kill him, I mean, going forward, I hope the boy gets counseling. I hope both of them get severe counseling. And honestly, I don't know if this older brother should even be, it sounds like he might be going to jail or
Oh, for sure.
He might be tried as an adult, it sounds like.
They'll probably move it back down to the kid thing, but it's going to be a major thing. It's not a.
Yeah.
And what about the parents? Do you think the parents should be tried as well?
This doesn't say anything about the parents, which is shocking.
The parents should also be in trouble for this.
Right. Why aren't the parents being charged with anything here? It doesn't even mention the parents. That's insane.
The kid should be taken from the parents, the other kid.
I mean, likely, if this kid was violent enough to stab his brother, there should have been signs ahead of time that this kid had issues.
And are the issues from the parents?
Not have been leaving these kids alone together.
Are the issues from the lack of parenting? Because we just heard MJ talk about the way she was raised, where she had her parents there for her. What's going on with these kids? Why is this happening?
Well, the parents aren't even mentioned in this story, so I doubt they were even around. But that's two people, two parents. I don't know if this is a one-parent household or a two-parent household, but at least one parent should have been able to see the signs of abuse at some point. I'm sure that this isn't an isolated incident.
Well, I guess they're going to figure it out. Well, there's going to be more to this. This kind of thing is this is not the end of this. We're going to hear more. This is crazy.
Looks like the hearing is scheduled for March 5th, so maybe we will hear more about it. I don't know. It's going to be a hard case to follow, though, because they don't name the kids because it's minors. So.
Yeah.
So it's Salon Springs. So if you, that'd be the way to keep tabs on that story.
Crazy.
But that's crazy. I read it and I was like, what?
Yep.
Why aren't parents watching their kids?
They're too busy.
I mean, I thought we were in a time where parents were more hands-on these days. There was a lot of things that happened, in my childhood and other people's childhood back in the day, back in the 80s, the 90s, there was a lot of that. But I mean,
where you
I
got
thought
like
we were in a time
you got beaten
where
with a baseball
were a little bit
bat.
more aware of these things,
Yeah, you remember that story you told me where you got beaten by with a baseball bat?
Sure.
Yep. And you were shot too with a BB gun. Remember that? That could be attempted homicide.
I wasn't just shot with a BB gun. That was an ongoing thing for months. Months. My brother would hunt me through. We had woods and an orchard near where we lived.
That's not true. How dare you? This is not the same thing. It's not the same thing as somebody stabbing to kill them as playing around with BB guns.
But I was like 5 or 6 years old. That's a baby.
5 or 6? I don't think so. No.
Baby.
Nah, more like 7 or 8.
Me, that if he pumped it 100 times, it would definitely kill me.
No! I don't think you could kill someone with a BB gun.
For months, anytime, and he had a different dad, so he wasn't there all the time, but anytime he was there, he would surprise me. I'd be playing in the sandbox, minding my own business, and he'd come in through the woods, or he'd be up in a tree.
With that said,
unbeknownst to me, like the sneaky army man.
What's your position on the Second Amendment?
And he'd yell at me, "Run, bitch!"
No, he would not say
I
that.
was 6 years old, and it would go on all day.
That's not
I'd
true.
have no shoes on, running through the woods, no food or water all day, sunburnt, exhausted, often crying.
This sounds like an AOC story.
Stopped. He wouldn't let me back to the house. It only stopped. I finally got to the house. I was almost in the door, and he shot me.
This sounds like an AOC story. I heard you were only shot one time in the butt with pants on, and that's it.
That's the only time he got in trouble for it.
This sounds like an AOC
I
story.
was only actually shot the one time, but the chasing through the woods and the orchard with the gun happened for months before anybody knew about it.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think so.
How would you know?
Oh, I would
How
know.
would you know?
Because I know
How would
all
you
the
know?
details. We've talked about this before.
Have we talked about this
It
before?
sounds like it's all changed.
It hasn't changed. It's
Yeah.
always been the same. The only person who's ever changed it is the person who did it.
Speaking of made
The only
up stories, have you heard AOC? Have you heard AOC
No.
say that she was in the bathroom? She was trying to say she was at the Capitol and they were going to kill her.
And here's the thing: when he actually shot me, when my mom actually found out that this was going on, the most important thing was that I wasn't allowed to tell anybody about it.
That's not true.
No,
Kids
it's
do
true.
stuff.
It's true.
See, when I
had
was
to
a
go to
kid,
school the next
so
day
back when
and
I
sit on the floor with all the other kids, Indian style, hurting. So mom made a
back when I was a kid, we would have BB gun fights, and I was shot hundreds of times with a BB gun. My
Yeah.
brother and his friends, we all had our own BB guns, and that's just the way that kids did
At the time,
things.
I'd never been shot with one, but, until the time I actually got shot, I actually believed this thing he said, that if he pumped it 100 times, it would kill me. And through the course of me running from
If
him,
I pump it 100
they would
times,
whiz by my head.
I'll blow a
They
hole
would whiz
through
by
you.
my head. I'd see them whiz by my head. I'd hear it. It'd be so close.
Wow.
But
That's amazing. So I've been shot hundreds of times with BBs. I've been shot with
when I
pellets.
was a 5 or 6 year
Nah.
old little girl, I didn't know anything.
I don't think
I
you
was
were
just a
5 or
little
6.
baby.
I think you were getting closer to a little older.
And he was like 5 years older than me, so he was like 10, maybe 11.
5 years? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Or 4 years?
4 or 5 years older than me, so.
Okay, weird.
If I was 5 or 6, he was like 10 or 11.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
not. I think it was a little later than that. Yeah, I know, because when I was a kid, I used to have BB gun fights too. And I know
Yeah.
about roaches.
Well,
Yep.
a fight is one thing. If one person has a BB gun and another person has a BB gun, but still, you probably shouldn't be shooting people with BB guns.
Hey, did you have red hair?
What's that got to do with anything?
Gingers are always getting shot at.
Oh,
It's a ginger thing. What can you
Yeah.
do about it?
sounds like an abusive thing.
Weird. Yeah, so anyways, I don't think you should conflate this murderous family in Wisconsin with...
No, but you asked about abuse. You asked about it.
I didn't ask about abuse.
Yeah, you actually did ask about
No,
it.
I mentioned, I know a story of you getting beaten with a
That's about
baseball
that.
bat. And then I said, and also, you were shot with a BB gun one time.
Right.
And it got turned into this long
I was
AOC
shot
story.
once, but the actual situation was months. Months where I had days, hours and hours of running and being out of breath and crying, trying to hide, but he'd always find me. And whenever I
He
tried to
sounds
run
like
back
Freddy
to the house,
Krueger.
he'd block me from the yard.
Sounds like Freddy Krueger. Sounds like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that's out of your mouth, dude.
So anyways, that's crazy.
I don't think you realize how little a 5 or 6 year old kid is. You don't have kids.
I don't
you
know.
haven't,
I don't know.
raised any.
Kids
so
do
you
dumb
don't-
things,
I
that's
mean,
for sure. I don't know why kids do certain things. When I was a little kid, there's always older kids. There's always bullies. I've
Looking back
had.
at it and looking at how my niece was at 5 or 6. At 5 or 6, she couldn't even pronounce her R's right. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, she was barely getting over being a toddler. If anybody, any older kid who was 10 or 11 was doing that to her,
Yeah, I don't know. That's
that
interesting.
kid
Sorry to hear.
I would
Sorry,
fight to make sure
sorry
that
to
kid goes
hear
to
that.
fucking juvie.
Sorry to hear about that. When I was a kid, and probably a lot of kids, we all had to deal with struggles. When you're a kid, there's struggles. You got to get over it. Like I said, when I was a kid, I had my head slammed into the school bus. When I was younger than that, littler than that, I got punched in the head by older kids. They steal my toys. And it wasn't just me, just a thing. Kids are assholes.
Right.
Little kids are assholes.
That happened, but
But they don't do the stabbing of their... They don't...
That brother still likes to play power games.
Yeah, they don't
So.
put a sheet over their sibling's head and try to murder them. That's something completely different. That's horrible. Yep.
It is horrible.
What else you got? What other articles you got?
Let's see what I have. James. This is about woke think. Will American ideas tear France apart? Some of its leaders think so. Politicians and prominent intellectuals say social theories from the United States on race, gender, and post-colonialism are a threat to French identity and the French Republic. Republic. This is from Norimitsu Onishi from February 9th, 2021. Paris. The threat is said to be existential. It fuels secessionism, gnaws at national unity, abets Islamism, attacks France's intellectual and cultural heritage. The threat? Certain social science theories entirely imported from the United States, said President Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, what are they? The woke social
French
science theories?
politicians, high-profile intellectuals, and journalists are warning that progressive American ideas, specifically on race, gender... Hold on a second. I've got like a...
Macron is like... I thought Macron was the hero of the progressive left. They like him, and they like the Canadian guy. I thought that's what it was. Or maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe we were wrong.
I don't know. Let me read the article.
Okay.
Specifically on race, gender, post-colonialism, and are undermining their society. There's a battle to wage against an intellectual matrix from American universities, warned Mr. Macron's education minister. Emboldened by these comments, prominent intellectuals have banded together against what they regard as contamination by the out-of-control woke leftism of American campuses and its attendant cancel culture. Pitted against them is a younger, more diverse guard that considers these theories as tools to understanding the willful blind spots of an increasingly diverse nation that still recoils at the mention of race, has yet to come to terms with its colonial past, and often waves away the concerns of minorities as identity politics. Disputes that would have otherwise attracted little attention are now blown up in the news and social media. The new director of the Paris Opera, who said on Monday he wants to diversify its staff and ban blackface, has been attacked by the far-right leader Marine Le Pen, but also in Le Monde because though German, he had worked in Toronto and had soaked up American culture for 10 years. The publication this month of a book critical of racial studies by two veteran social scientists, Stephanie Biod and Gerard Noriel, field criticism from younger scholars, and has received extensive news coverage. Mr. Noriel has said that race had become a bulldozer, crushing other subjects, adding in an email that its academic research in France was questionable because race is not recognized by the government and merely subjective data. The fierce French debate over a handful of academic disciplines on U.S. campuses may surprise those who have witnessed a gradual decline of American influence in many corners of the world. In some ways, it is a proxy fight over some of the most combustible issues in French society, including national identity and sharing of power. In a nation where intellectuals still hold sway, the stakes are high. With its echoes of the American culture wars, the battle began inside French universities, but is being played out increasingly in the media. Politicians have been weighing in more and more, especially following a turbulent year during which a series of events called into question tenets of French society. Mass protests in France, killing police violence. Hold on. I misread that. Mass protests in France against police violence, inspired by the killing of George Floyd, challenge the official dismissal of race and systemic racism. Hashtag #MeToo generation of feminists confronted both male power and older feminists. A widespread crackdown following a series of Islamist attacks raised questions about France's model of secularism and the integration of immigrants from its former colonies. some saw the reach of American identity politics and social science theories. Some center-right lawmakers pressed for a parliamentary investigation into ideological excesses at universities and singled out guilty scholars on Twitter. Mr. Macron, who has shown little interest in these matters in the past but has been courting the right ahead of elections next year, jumped in last June when he blamed universities for encouraging the ethnicization of the social equation. Social question. Okay. Amounting to breaking the Republic in two. I was pleasantly astonished, said Nathalie Henrich.
Nathalie? What's the name? Nathalie?
Nathalie Heineck.
That's an interesting name.
A sociologist who last month helped create an organization against decolonialism and identity politics. Made up of established figures, many retired, the group has issued warnings about American-inspired social theories in major publications like Le Point and Le Figaro. Le Figaro. For Miss Heineck...
So they're saying they're arguing against the woke left. They say the woke left is harmful.
Right.
Okay.
For Miss Heineck, last year's developments came on top of activism that brought foreign disputes over cultural appropriation and blackface to French universities. At the Sorbonne, activists prevented the staging of a protest the wearing of
Pete, you're on live TV. Quiet down.
Elsewhere, some well-known speakers were disinvited following student pressure. It was a series of incidents that was extremely traumatic to our community, and that all fell under what is called cancel culture. Ms. Heineck said.
Mm-hmm.
To others, the lashing out at perceived American influence revealed something else. A French establishment incapable of confronting a world in flux, especially at a time when the government's mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic has deepened the sense of ineluctable decline of once great power. It's a sign of a small, frightened republic declining, provincializing, but which in the past and to this day believes in its universal mission and which thus seeks those responsible for its decline, said Francois Cosset, expert on American civilization at Paris-Nanterre University. France has long laid claim to a national identity based on a common culture, fundamental rights, and core values like equality and liberty, rejecting diversity and multiculturalism.
Mm-hmm.
The French often see the United States as a fractious society at war with itself.
Yep.
But far from being American, many of the leading thinkers behind theories on gender, race, post-colonialism, and queer theory come from France, as well as the rest of Europe, South America, Africa, and India. And Anne Garretta said, a French writer who teaches literature universities in France and at Duke. It's an entire global world of ideas that circulates, she said. It just happens that campuses that are the most cosmopolitan and the most globalized at this point in history are American ones. The French state does not compile racial statistics, which is illegal, describing it as part of its commitment to universalism and treating all citizens equally under the law. To many scholars on race, however, the reluctance is part of a long history of denying racism in France and the country's slave trading colonial past.
I think it's racism to do the opposite. I think the other way is racism. Don't you? Does anyone else think that?
I don't know.
Should we have pauses in the middle when we do long articles like this? When it goes from
what?
When we do the long articles, should we do pauses and comment on sections?
Well, okay. Here's the issue. When I'm actually reading, I set the phone down, so I can't hear when you speak. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I see. Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
I don't even. I said so.
Oh, no worries. Do whatever you're doing. Keep reading.
What's more French than the racial question in a country that was built around those questions, said Mem Fatou Niang, who divides her time between France and the United States, where she teaches French studies at Carnegie Mellon University. Miss Niang has led a campaign to remove a fresco at France's National Assembly, which shows two black figures with fat red lips and bulging eyes. Her public views on race have made her a frequent target on social media, including of one of the lawmakers who pressed for an investigation into ideological excesses at universities. Pat Ndiaye, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Ndiaye. Pat Ndiaye, a historian who led efforts to establish black studies in France, said it was no coincidence that the current wave of anti-American rhetoric began growing just as the first protests against racism and police violence took place last June. There was the idea that we're talking too much about racial questions in France, he said. That's enough. 3 Islamic attacks last fall served as a reminder that terrorism remains a threat in France. They also focused attention on another hot-button field of research, Islamophobia, which examines how hostility towards Islam in France, rooted in its colonial experience in the Muslim world, continues to shape the lives of French Muslims. Abdali Hajjat, an expert on Islamophobia, said that it became increasingly difficult to focus on his subject after 2015 when devastating terror attacks hit Paris. Government funding for research dried up. Researchers on the subject were accused of being apologists for Islamists, even terrorists. Finding the atmosphere oppressive, Mr. Hajjat left 2 years ago to teach at the Free University of Brussels in Belgium, where he said he found greater academic freedom. On the question of Islamophobia, it's only in France where there's such violent talk in rejecting the term, he said. Mr. Macron's education minister, Jean-Michel Blanquer, accused universities under American influence of being complicit with terrorists by providing the intellectual justification behind their acts.
Wow.
A group of 100 prominent scholars wrote an open letter supporting the minister and decrying theories transferred from North American campuses in Le Monde. A signatory, Gilles Geppel, an expert on Islam, said that American influence had led to a sort of prohibition in universities to think about the phenomenon of political Islam in the name of leftist ideology that considers it the religion of the underprivileged. This is quite a long article.
It's good. Feel free to continue. It's amazing.
We're almost done with it. Hold on. Along with Islamophobia, it was through the totally artificial importation in France of the American-style black question that some were trying to draw a false picture of a France guilty of systemic racism and white privilege, said Pierre Andre Tigaf. Yeah, you like it when I can't pronounce all the names. A historian and a leading critic of the American influence. Mr. Tigaf said in an email that researchers of race, Islamophobia, and post-colonialism were motivated by a hatred of the West and as a white civilization. The common agenda of these enemies of European civilization can be summed up in 3 words: decolonize, demasculate, de-Europeanize, Mr. Tergaf said. Straight white male, that's the culprit to condemn and the enemy to eliminate. Behind the attacks on American universities, led by aging white male intellectuals, lie the tensions in a society where power appears to be up for grabs, said Eric Fassin, a sociologist who was one of the first scholars to focus on race and racism in France about 15 years ago. Back then, scholars on race tended to be white men like himself, he said. He said he has often been called a traitor and faced threats, most recently from right-wing extremists from a right-wing extremist who was given a 4-month suspended prison sentence for threatening to decapitate him. But the emergence of young intellectuals, some black or Muslim, has fueled the assault on what Mr. Fassin calls the American boogeyman. That's what has turned things upside down, he said. They're not just the objects we speak of, but they're also the subjects who are talking. Okay.
So the leftist progressives are the American boogeyman? That's great.
I don't know.
That's what I take it as. Can you post the link in the live chat?
Yeah, hold on.
That's a great article. Wow, that's one of the best finds that you've found. I wonder, I would like to hear some other people. I want to hear people's opinions on this. That's an amazing. So France thinks the woke left is the enemy of the world.
Yeah, they essentially think that it's going to, if they let these ideas have power in their country, that it's going to ruin their country, tear their country down.
It will. That's what happens when you let racism, and that's what it is. It's called racism. It's racism under the guise of calling everyone else racist. Equality is the thing to look at, not race. It's about equality. And if it's not, then it's racist.
People should be judged on their own merit individually.
Yep.
You know.
That's very interesting. Wow. You've really come out the gate with some blazing topics here today, Rose. Amazing. You shook me with the first one about those crazy kids. Now I don't know if I'll be able to sleep at night. Thinking of this murderous little brother. And then, man, the woke left. Who I thought France, then aren't they like celebrating France? But you know what? The president of France, Macron, it seemed like he was getting a little tight with that evil President Trump there towards the end. So maybe some.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either.
I don't know. I do know that some of these countries that are. Number one, a lot of the left likes to put a few countries up on a pedestal because they're supposedly socialist, but they'll also they also deny being socialist. No, we're not socialist.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those countries that are considered socialists are white nations that
all white
have extreme immigrant criteria.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, like some of these countries, it's really hard to immigrate to them, you know?
Yeah.
These socialist countries. And also, in a lot of those countries, even if you do immigrate, you'll never really be accepted as a full citizen, so, you know? Unless you're actually from there, of that heritage, you're never accepted as a full citizen.
Yeah.
So while people like to point things out from here and there and say we should be like that country or we should be like that country, you know, there's a lot of things.
I think we should be like the United States of America. Land of the free, home of the brave.
Maybe. Maybe we should be more like the United States of America 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Things have gone, it's like things have gotten into a...
We've allowed it.
Runaway train where everything's just getting crazier and crazier. People can't even get along anymore.
Our freedom has allowed that, though. There are consequences. You have a freedom that also allows people to be free to be fucking nuts, too.
Yeah.
Yep, it sure does. And that's what freedom looks like, as Mike Pence taught me. Anytime crazy shit's out there happening, that's what freedom looks like. All the protesters.
Although, even if you go back 20 years, I'd still keep some things that we have today, like the legalization of the marijuana. You know?
Yes,
that'd be great.
Progress is good, but we need to not be assholes about everything. And I think we are.
gotten a bit crazy. Honestly, I think social media is partially to blame for a lot of it. But it's also a benefit in a lot of other ways too. So, double-edged sword, you know.
Yeah. What else is going on your social media? What are you seeing in the trends? Seeing as I'm not on social media anymore, what's it like?
I don't know, but I've got an article. I got an older article. I don't know if you'll be interested in this article.
About social media?
No. We're done with that.
Okay.
Done with that conversation.
All right. What else do you want to talk about?
Interesting subjects. This is an article from 10 months ago titled, "Not Enough Americans Understand the Need for Space Force," a top commander said.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I want to know this. I want to know all about it.
This is space.com.
Okay.
And it's by Joanna Wendell, published 10 months ago. No one questioned the need for the Air Force after World War II. So why do so many people have issues with the Space Force? The more Americans learn about the U.S. Space Force, the more they'll appreciate it. One of the new military branch's leaders believes. President Donald Trump established the Space Force on December 20th, 2019, as part of the National Defense Authorization Act. Since then, the new military branch has been met not just confusion, but sometimes open mockery. U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General David Thompson, who also serves as the Vice Commander of the Space Force, wants to counter any misunderstandings about the purpose of the new organization. The nation needs a Space Force because so much of our day-to-day lives depends on operations in space, Thompson said, citing the GPS satellites that help us navigate and the satellites that provide us internet service in order to operate in space for the nation and for national security, for our forces, and perhaps ultimately for civil and economic benefit. We now have to be prepared to do that in the face of threats. He said during the Satellite 2020 conference here earlier this month. World War II sent combat truly skyward. Over the course of the war, more than 100,000 planes were built, and millions of people enlisted in the armed forces. Americans back then innately understood what airplane power meant to the security of a nation, Thompson said. In 1947, just after the war ended, the United States established the Air Force as a separate military branch. There might have been specific questions about the role of airplanes, but nobody really asked, hey, this Air Force thing, what is it? What do they do? Why in the world do we need airplanes anyway? Thompson said. The same logic should apply to the Space Force, he added. You know, we talk about the North Koreans launching suspicious objects in the Korean Peninsula, the Lieutenant General said. The fact that we can provide warning to people that they're coming, people certainly understand that happens, but nobody stops to think, wait, how do we do this? Today, he said, not enough people innately understand what we already do in space in a military sense. For example, satellites help military vehicles navigate the air and sea. They also help make sure weapons are used correctly and land precisely where they're supposed to, Thompson said. He also lauded what he called a burgeoning and blossoming commercial space sector. Defense needs used to drive technology development. After all, NASA was established as a direct reaction to World War II and the pressures of the Cold War, which was pushing nations to compete over access to space. But about 15 years ago, Thompson said, a switch flipped, and now the commercial sector is developing technologies on the national defense that the national defense world is paying close attention to. We've now gotten to the point where that ingenuity, that investment, and the applications that have come as a result of that far outstrip anything we ever really thought about in the sense of using it for defense purposes, he said. Oh, that's the end of the article. So, yeah, satellites and weapons and internet and all that stuff.
Yep.
Space Force.
For sure. And
Right?
didn't President Trump establish Space Force right after we saw the New York Times publish an article saying we found alien spacecraft? That's been published. That was published in the New York Times. Not a whole lot not enough has been made of it, I don't think.
I remember there being a paranoia in news media, I don't know how long ago it would have been, years back, about Russian satellites, Russian satellites, that, even though at the time we didn't really consider Russia our enemy, the news media was always hyping up these Russian satellites, you know? And what dangers they could pose, and what kinds of, you know... Anyway, but, I mean, if they're gonna, I mean... Yeah. I don't understand why people can't understand that, that kind of thing, like I said...
Just
satellites,
recently...
internet, weapons, those are, like, important things, right?
Yeah, just
So,
recently
like,
the Biden administration was asked about Space Force. If you haven't heard their answer, you should go listen. They literally mock the Space Force. They openly mock the Space Force, smugly. Yep. Jen Psaki.
I'm aware, but I didn't want to read that article.
Yep.
I wanted to go back and find an article that actually explained what the Space Force was.
Yep. The Space Force is going to be very important, especially with the things SpaceX is doing. They're going to be working with the Space Force, I'm sure. And we're going to have the most advanced space fighting force, and it'll help us in a lot of ways. I think it's cool. I can't wait till the Space Force has their base on the moon.
I mean, considering we're already living in the damn future according to the 80s, we should have a fucking Space Force by now.
We should. We have one. President Trump made a Space Force.
I mean, all those 80s movies that took place in the future were like 2020, 2021, you know? 2015, even, you know?
Yep. And here we are.
Right. Reasonably,
and,
you know.
And SpaceX...
If you were a kid in the 80s, you would assume by 2020, 2021, we'd have a Space Force, right?
Yep, and SpaceX is literally landing rockets. They're doing crazy, awesome things that nobody else is doing.
But here's another thing. What if Elon Musk goes fucking rogue, man? The nation needs to be able to defend from a rogue Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's true.
We never know if that, what's the mind link?
Well, that's actually true.
He'll go wonky and he'll turn into an evil Lex Luthor.
Or even not just Elon Musk, but anybody. Any of these...
Anybody.
Any private citizen... The nation needs to be ahead of the public companies. We need a program where they're at least on par with them. And right now, Space Force is way ahead of, or I'm sorry, SpaceX is way ahead of Space Force. So they're going to need to work with SpaceX to bring Space Force up to par.
Right.
Yep. Interesting, man.
Yeah, I thought it was. And like I said, I did see what Jen Psaki had to say about the Space Force, and I figured, oh, screw that. I'm just going to read an article about
what they do.
It's not enough Americans understand the need for a Space Force, so... Well,
you can't blame
I don't think Jen Psaki knows a damn thing about it, so haha, you know?
Yep.
I mean, if she...
Jen, circle back
really realize what's being talked about is the weapons and satellites and the internet and all that, you know?
Yeah. Has any of this stuff been discussed on Crowder or Tim Pool? I haven't watched either of those lately.
I'm not certain. I don't get a lot of time. Like, I tend to watch Tim Pool after we do our podcast these days because you tend to...
Both of them steal our content, I believe. Because I keep tagging them. I keep tagging them in the pod. And, like, you'll do a segment, and then the next day, Crowder does the same exact segment less than 12 hours later.
Well, in Crowder's defense, Tim Pool did that segment days before we did, so.
Maybe. I don't watch Tim Pool.
Yeah.
I get my Tim Pool news from you, and you give it to me on this show.
Anyway, let's move on to some entertainment stuff. The Stargate franchise may be moving to Disney. By Doug Norrie 1 day ago. Stargate fans may want to start getting out the champagne and think about setting up some kind of celebration. There's reason to believe this franchise is coming back sooner than later. Insider Daniel Reichman is reporting that Disney is in talks to purchase MGM. That would mean Stargate moving under the Disney umbrella and given new life. If there was a chance for this franchise to come back in a big way, this is definitely it. Disney considering the purchase of MGM and its catalog of titles comes on the heels of the latter apparently trying to sell most of its major works to the highest bidder. Unlike a number of other companies, MGM doesn't have the advantage of a streaming service to bring their movies and franchises directly to fans. In a pandemic-led world, that's increasingly problematic and has led to a squeeze on the studio about what to do with some of their tentpole productions. Hold on. Stargate and James Bond. Stargate and James Bond in particular appear up for grabs, and Disney wants in on them. Here's to hoping it happens. Stargate first came in the form of the 1994 movie directed by Roland Emmerich. On its $55 million budget, the film took in close to $200 million worldwide at the box office. The science fiction film centers on the titular device that allows humans and other life forms to open a portal or a wormhole between two planets. The film received middling review, 53% on the tomato meter, but sparked a large fan base, which made it something like a cult film. Where Stargate really stayed around in the public consciousness was through the initial television show, which ran for 10 seasons, first on Showtime, then syndicated on the Sci-Fi Channel. The show takes place right after the events of the movie and furthers along the story of how aliens and humans have been intricately aligned for eons. SG-1 was an award-winning program and even helped launch follow-ups like Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe. But for all its one-time popularity, the franchise has been out of commission for over a decade now. The last episode of Stargate Universe aired all the way back in 2012. That being said, reboot talk has been in the works for some time now. It helps that SG-1 just recently found a home on Netflix and is also available on Amazon, bringing the show to a new generation of fans. There is some optimism around another show finally hitting the screen in some way, with executive producer Joseph Malazzi writing on his blog over the summer that a new program has never been closer. Could Disney purchasing MGM bring the Stargate news even closer to reality? It sure seems like it, considering the franchise has a wealth of backstory to draw on and an expanded and rich universe. There's reason to suspect a change to a new studio would instantly breathe new life into things. That could come in the form of a movie or show, or even better, both.
That'd be great. I could picture, I would see that Stargate and the other MGM properties would probably be better off with Universal. Better than Disney.
Yeah.
I don't see James Bond in Disney. But I definitely could see James Bond and Stargate doing really well with Universal, which has stuff like that already.
Here's the thing specifically about Stargate is Disney is a family company. They don't like to do rated R stuff, over-sexualized stuff, violent. It's somewhat violent because there's fighting and stuff, but it's relatively safe for families to watch. There's not a lot of inappropriate things for kids even. So, it's not something that they have to clean up or anything if they want to bring Stargate back.
Yeah.
And if they want to further the show, in my opinion, if they want to bring it back, the best thing to do would be bring it back with a new team in the same timeline. So we're not like rebooting or anything. We're not starting from the beginning, but a new team. Considering, like, say the Stargate program has continued to go on all this time, and we just got a new team that's the new main team that we follow.
Mm-hmm.
Have some of the other stars from SG-1 and even Atlantis, or even, hell, Universe, and bring them in for cameo roles or small parts or leading roles, like somebody could be in the position of a General Hammond, but maybe not. Well, I guess, what's his name? Richard Dean Anderson might be willing to come back. I don't know anymore. He's kind of
I don't know if
away
they would.
from it.
I would probably start new with very young people, young cast.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know about how young. Like maybe at least mid-20s. At least. You don't want kids. You don't want it to be kids.
yeah.
You don't want it to be the new teen Stargate. That'd be weird.
I don't know. It might not be weird.
Well,
I can
considering
imagine
that
it.
they're supposed to be in the military, and they're supposed to be.
I kind of see Stargate melding, like if you meld it with the way that they did, Avatar. So like if you with today's special effects, man, even 10% less. If you're on the par with Avatar, like however many years ago that was, today.
I didn't really like Avatar all that much.
But I'm saying the special effects. If you can have Avatar, which was 10 years ago now? So if you can have for a TV show, Avatar type special effects, which I know they can do now, and I think it should be a television show, and it should be all new people with the premise of Stargate, and I would watch the hell out of that. But I also think if that was on Disney Plus, that would be really cool.
Yeah. What do you think about, like I'm saying, bringing other actors back to play their parts in like different ways? Maybe not that they're the main team, but they could bring Samantha Carter in on an episode to be an expert, or they could bring Daniel Jackson in, or like even Star Trek.
I wouldn't do that at all.
Spock on things,
If it was me, I
don't think they brought Spock. I think they brought Spock's father.
I wouldn't do any of that. I wouldn't do that
Why?
at all. Because I wouldn't. I would start anew. I wouldn't have any ties to any of those shows or movies. I wouldn't have Kurt Russell. I wouldn't have Richard Dean Anderson. I wouldn't have any of it. I would start anew. My cast would be as young as they could be and still get away with doing it. They would be 21 years old, or something, where they're younger, and I would run that show for fucking 15 seasons, and it would be awesome.
Basically, what you're talking about is rebooting Power Rangers.
No,
you want a show for teens, okay?
I want the show to be that age, a little older than that. I think those people were in their 20s. But I want it to be Stargate, but I want it to be something that we can have a long...
We're going to market to kids so we can sell toys during the commercials.
Exactly.
No.
For sure.
That's
I would
terrible.
make it amazing. I would make it like if they produce
Terrible.
if Disney owned
Thing is,
it.
I don't think you understand the fan base of this show. I don't think you understand if they did that, and if it was that what's the word? There's source material that you need to go off of.
If they did it amazing. No, they do it. They do it like they do it as an original.
Like they did Stargate Universe. Stargate Universe tried to be like the new thing, the new fresh thing.
No.
Tried to follow trends that were going on at the time, and it tanked.
I would not.
Fans were not interested in it.
I would not do it based on the movie or the other shows. Not at all. I wouldn't do Stargate Universe. I would just do Stargate something or
Well,
other. And I would
seeing
make
that
it from...
You've only watched 2.5 seasons of the show. I don't think you're.
Well, I've watched the movie and I've watched a couple seasons. So I think I have an ability to say what I think, being that I've watched the movie and I've watched a couple seasons. I wouldn't base it on any of that.
I don't. You are versed enough to know what is going on there.
That is its own world. It's just like a comic book, okay?
You have barely even scratched the surface.
There's a lot of
Stargate
different
world.
writers of Superman or Batman. There's different writers, there's different artists, okay? They each have their own little thing. The way that I would draw and write this comic book of this
That's
show.
how they ruined the Star Trek franchise. Is trying to act like certain things were happening in different universes.
No, it would
We've got
be
the J.J.
it would be the
Abrams
same
universe now,
characters.
and it sucks.
It would be the same
Most
characters.
Star Trek fans agree that sucks, and the Star Trek Enterprise sucks, and almost everything they've done.
This is the way that
since
comic
Enterprise-
books are written, just so you know. Comic books have lots of different storylines, different
That's
artists,
not the way
different.
It works with certain shows.
They have
and what made
different
Stargate-
storylines and
what made
different
Stargate
artists.
SD1 popular was the main characters and the following of the main characters.
Okay, fuck them. I want them gone. If I'm the one calling the
Of course
shots,
you would.
I don't want
You have
any
the
of them.
personality of one of these studio bigwigs who's only interested in making money.
I'm interested in making a show that I can make
You're
amazing.
like the motherfuckers who turned The Queen of the Damned into another Blade movie.
No, not true.
Yes.
That's not who I
Yes.
am. You're saying negative things to me. That's not true. You're not
No,
listening.
We need young kids. We need young kids in there.
Well, I
We
would
need them to
say
be as close to teenagers as possible.
not as close to
We
teenagers,
need to forget
but
other franchises ever even happened. Let's pretend that they don't exist.
correct. That's the way I would run it. Just like the new Batman
I would
movies they
tell
come
you
out with.
That's not Stargate.
Just
You're
like the new
missing
Batmans.
what
Listen.
Stargate is, if that's what you
Just
have to
like
say.
Batman
They even
19
parodied it. They even
Rose,
parodied that idea
Rose.
within Stargate, and it was fucking hilarious.
Rose, I'll talk now, okay? Just like Batman 1989 by Tim Burton was a different Batman than what Batman had been previously. It's its
Batman
own
is in
thing.
Stargate.
They didn't bring back Adam West to be in the Tim Burton movie to have a cameo because it's its own movie. It's its own
Right, because
thing.
Batman is Batman, okay? But if we're talking about a Stargate that's moved on into the future, it's still ongoing. These people that were on Stargate SG-1 would now be older, and maybe they're in different jobs in the military within the Stargate program. Maybe sometimes they
Yeah,
need
but then
an expert on.
they'd
on a
still
certain
have to be
thing.
their character.
Maybe they need a tablet
Rose.
translated, and the only person who knows that.
But I would
specific
want to
dialect
still keep
language
those
is
characters.
Daniel Jackson.
Yeah, we still want Daniel Jackson. We still want all the same characters. We just want them played by someone else. I don't want them to come back because
I
that's.
don't want that.
I do.
We're not rebooting. It's not happening. That sounds ridiculous.
That's what I want.
No, what I would want would be new people entirely. A new team entirely, new
No,
people,
the real-
new names.
the real is
We're not
Kurt Russell.
rebooting. We're not bringing Teen Daniel and Teen Jack into this because
The
that's
real,
ridiculous.
the real is Kurt Russell, and you don't want to admit that. You want to talk about MacGyver? He's not the real. The real from the movie.
The Stargate movie tanked. It's only
The real from the
you wanna talk
movie
about
is Kurt
approval,
Russell.
It only has a 55% approval rating.
Yeah, the real is
The
Kurt
thing
Russell.
that actually brought Stargate into being an actual franchise was the SG-1 show. If
That's
not for the
nice.
SG-1 show, nobody would be talking about that Stargate movie except for, like, you know, one person you get high with at a party would be like, hey, yo, you remember
I think
that?
Paramount needs to buy it for their Paramount Plus network. That would be fantastic. I think they're only talking about Disney to get other suitors. Disney's not interested in this.
That you're saying these things for the podcast in order to trigger me into a argument because you know it's good podcast.
Nope, I'm not.
I think you are.
No, I'm not. I'm saying what I think.
You are.
I think that the characters themselves would be the same characters. I don't want the old Adam West coming on because he's not Batman in this universe. In this universe, we're going to have our own Daniel Jackson. Who's going to play Daniel Jackson? Justin Bieber.
That's so stupid.
Hey, imagine.
So stupid. You obsession with teens.
Imagine if Justin Bieber played Daniel Jackson. That'd be pretty cool. Or played somebody. They get someone like that. I want a cast that's amazing that we can get locked up. I would try to lock them up for a long time too.
I wouldn't want to recast the originals as younger people.
I do.
What I would want to do is get a team put together where you still have the same type of experts, where you do have a linguist, where you do have
a cunning
scientist,
linguist,
where you do have somebody who's a weapons expert.
a cunning
But
linguist.
They're new people. They're new people. It's like the next generation. Like with Star Trek, you have Picard and Riker.
Nope. I don't like that. You know what I like is the Star Trek where they have a new Kirk.
Star Trek, so shut up.
They have a new Kirk, and it's played by that dude, and he's the best Captain Kirk. The new old Star Treks are the best. That's the way I would do
Well,
it.
you're supposed to have a wrong
Oh, I'm
opinion.
so glad you brought that up. That totally makes my point. These new Star Treks that have been made with Kirk and Spock
terrible.
are amazing. No, they're not terrible. They're very good.
Terrible.
Nope. They're very good. And they
terrible.
did find a way to bring Spock in somehow for the old fans, but they're really amazing. I'm a big fan of those movies. I like them a lot. And what's the guy's name that did those movies? He likes to
Fucking
play with the
J.J.
lights and
Abrams.
everything. He did a good job.
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. fucking Abrams. He did a hell of a job. I would get J.J. Abrams to make the show. Stargate by J.J. Abrams. It would be the biggest thing ever. And I'm not talking, you're saying like a teen drama. I'm not saying that. I'm thinking more along the lines of the ages of Sam and Dean by about season 3. Not the first. That's too young. They went too young with Sam and Dean. I don't even know how old they were. But Dean is kind of old. Making season 15 right now of that show.
That
So-
show is over.
Yeah, but I'd want to plan for 15 seasons of Stargate.
The thing, I had no problem, and actually that was my intention, to bring younger people in. Maybe 25 at the youngest. They would have to at least be experts in their particular field, so they're not going to be
Kurt Russell?
18, 19, 20.
I want Kurt Russell then, if I'm going to agree to this.
Unless there's some sort of genius who's excelled in their field and become an expert at a young age, they're not going to be that young.
Can I have
They're
Kurt
gonna be at
Russell?
least 25, I'd say.
What role? How's Kurt Russell going to fit into this? He's kind of out. He's not getting.
Honestly,
He's not getting many
In
movies.
the same way I said you could bring in Samantha Carter and Daniel Jackson and Jack and Teal'c in different ways, you could bring in Kurt Russell as a new character. Maybe
No, not a
he'll
new
be the
character.
General Hammond.
He's the
Maybe
character.
he could be the new general that runs the program.
No, he's the He is the main character. He's going to be, along with Daniel Jackson.
Okay, so you want Kurt Russell to play Jack O'Neill, and you want all the other roles filled by teenagers.
No, I don't really need him to play Jack O'Neill, but I need him to have
How are you
a.
making any sense, man?
I need him to
How
have
are
a
you
real
making any
prominent
sense?
role. Okay.
No.
If I'll bring in Kurt Russell.
I think he would fit in well as like the guy who's running the show.
I'll bring in RDA and stuff. They don't get to be their characters.
Replaced by Bo Bridges, who played Hank Landry.
Richard Dean Anderson can play like the janitor.
Dean Anderson came in as a general who was running the program for a while, but then he retired.
Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson retired and left the show so that he could raise his daughter. He's kind of gone back and forth on whether or not he would do Stargate again. Where his daughter is raised now, he says he has the free time, but at other times he said, "Well, I'm really old now." But in a older character
He
role,
is
like
old.
a general who's running the program,
No, we need
or
people-
involved with the program in some way, comes in occasionally with certain storylines.
We need people with a lot of energy if we're going to employ them.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of
Well,
energy
I've
to
got-
make a show.
I've got no problem with bringing in new actors to play not the same characters, but new parts entirely. Like
No, I want
maybe
those-
the new SG-1, because there's always going to be, SG-1, not the first team, but the main team that's going through the gate every week or whatever.
So you want to start the show as if all that stuff happened a long time ago, And now there's other people, so like they'll talk about Colonel Jack O'Neill. He'll be mentioned, and then he'll have a bit role on the show to try to drag in the old people. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Like, new characters would be the main focus, but they would have to be good characters because, you know. But, I mean, they did it with Stargate Atlantis, where they moved a group of people to the Pegasus galaxy on the Atlantis base. And they had new characters there, and they kept with the same SG-1 format, where weekly they're going through the gate, going and seeing new planets and different things, you know.
I have a whole different direction I want to do with it, though.
Yeah.
I could take it a whole different direction.
Well,
with Paramount Plus.
We know what worked. We know what worked well. And that format where it's like there's a monster of the week type thing, but yet there's also an overarching storyline, works really well with a lot of different TV shows, whether it's Supernatural, whether it's Buffy,
Not in
whether
today's
it's Stargate,
world. Not in today's progressive, left-driven world.
Whether it's Dexter.
It needs to have a inclusivity and diversity theme. Okay?
I don't care if you want to have a diverse cast.
Don't be racist. All those characters, all those characters, all those characters you're mentioning. That's the white. What's it called?
Teal
don't have white
and
fragility.
Samantha
Teal.
Carter was a woman, and hey, they actually portrayed Samantha Carter.
Don't
as being
give me
a
the
woman in
token
active
black
duty
man.
At a time when women weren't even allowed to be in active duty. So blah.
They won't even let her have true women's empowerment. They made her cut her hair too short.
Well, those were
And
military
Teal, don't try to
regulations
give me
at
the
time.
token
and
black
all you do when
man.
we watch is sit here and bitch about the length of everybody's hair.
Yep, I don't want the token black man. I want a real diverse cast.
Yeah.
All they had was a token black man on the show. Yep. I want the percentages, not even of America. I'm going to make this show for the world.
Well,
so I want global.
They portrayed the ancient Egyptians as pretty diverse. You had black people and Arab people and white people and.
I want Indians. I want Muslims.
Back in the day, you watch it like Cleopatra, and they
I
also
want
portrayed the
Christians.
Egyptians as white.
I want religions from all other planets too. So we need to find out what religions other planets go by. I want a diverse show, so diverse.
We did find out what religions other planets went by, and it actually was a major plot point through most seasons of the show.
I want LGBTQ plus IA plus. I hope I said that right. I might not have. But I want a totally diverse cast. I don't want all this 1950s conservatard
bullshit. If you were
bullshit.
making the original Stargate, you would have made Samantha Carter a lesbian.
Yep. I want her to be a lesbian, maybe Native American and lesbian. Native Americans don't get enough representation.
No, when to Stargate Atlantis, they had, what's her name? Amagan. What was her first name? I can't remember. Taylor Amagan. And I think she was portrayed by an actress who was like part Native American and part black. You had Jason Momoa in Stargate Atlantis.
I also don't like I think there's racism going on with people that aren't really, in quotations, black, saying they're black when they're really something else, like Indian, like Kamala. I don't believe Kamala's black. And I think that takes away from people who actually are black by these other people trying to take their heritage, you know? I think I'm more percentage black than Kamala.
I don't know. I don't know what percentage Kamala is. I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna guess less than me.
No, she's also Indian and other things.
Yeah.
I know I've seen her kids, and they're whiter than Michael Jackson's kids.
Yeah. They are. Yep.
People want to point fingers at Michael Jackson and say he had white kids. Well, oh my, you know.
MJ. Yep.
Look at Kamala Harris's kids.
I
They're
think Stargate
whiter.
would be a good show for Michael Jackson to be on, or like we could do a hologram version of him. So like we can easily do CGI. Do you think we could get the estate to okay Michael
I
Jackson
don't
being
know.
like the
I
commander
don't.
on this show?
I don't know. I think you could take his character from the Remember the Time music video and digitally
That's
add it
exactly what I'm talking about. Just that. Yep. And he'll wear that suit and everything. Yep, exactly. Do you remember when we fell in love? We were young and innocent then.
But see, you're still just in the first seasons, and Egyptian mythologies were not the only mythologies that Stargate covered. They
Okay.
covered a lot of different mythologies, and then created even new ones, completely new ones. So, once we get past these first couple seasons, where it was very Monster of the Week format,
Yeah.
you'll start getting into it a little bit more.
Monster of the Week, huh?
Yeah, where it's like you go through the gate and something happens and they have to find a solution, and by the end of the show, it's all figured out.
I'm not into that. I think that's an old way to do
That's
things.
also the format that Supernatural uses in a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
did. They
episodes,
stole it
where
from
it's
Buffy.
Monster of the
We're gonna.
Week,
I
there's
think we should.
vampires or
I think we
whatever,
should
and
break
they have
new
to solve
ground. We
that,
should
and
do
then they
new
drive off
things.
in their Impala.
Yeah, but also those are a lot of white supremacists that made those shows. Well, I'm talking about diversity and inclusion here, okay? I'm talking about Black Lives Matter making the show with us. All right?
If that's what you do.
That's what I'm talking about for Stargate.
But you also have to realize that it's going to probably be a military-based show, so the characters.
That's why we have trans rights in the military now. Thank you, President Robidoux.
Right.
Yep.
So anybody who can be in the military can be in the show. Actually, you can bring in anybody because you can also have because Daniel Jackson was a civilian resource. He wasn't necessarily military.
I would
so.
turn Daniel Jackson to be definitely like Bruce Jenner would play Daniel Jackson. Yep.
Well, these days, somebody who's studying languages and culture might not even necessarily be a white guy.
In my show, the only time you're going to be white on my show is if you're gay, lesbian, or transvestite. Mostly transvestite. Yep.
Interesting.
No just straight white men, cisgender bullshit. That is not happening on my show. Yep. It's all about diversity and inclusion. Learn to code, and if you lose
Yes,
your...
there are ways you could do that with a Stargate show without making it trash.
Really?
Yeah.
How would you propose doing that?
Definitely
What's
you can do it
what's
without
your
making it-
ideas?
A lot of people concentrate on that to the point where the script writing suffers because they're just trying to jam everything in. But there's ways you could do it without.
How would you
making
do
the
it?
writing.
What are some things that you would do to be more diverse and inclusive?
I think you've said it all. I think you said it all, and I don't need to say any more.
What did I say?
I'm just saying that the main team that we're paying attention to could be anybody, you know?
Yeah.
As long as we're not recasting the former roles and we're still working with the same timeline, it would be the Stargate of today, which is different than the Stargate of yesterday, you
Right.
know?
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to be... what is it when you're racist of a planet, where you like think your planet is better than others?
I don't know.
I also don't want to show other planets as being inferior to Earth. I don't want to be Earthist, okay? Let's make it up. I'm making up a new way to be offended right now. Earthist. Are you Earthist?
I don't know.
Yeah. The show won't be
They made
Earthist.
friends with other people from other planets all over the place.
And we're not doing it in just English.
Even the Roswell Greys were allies toward, So.
Oh, that guy got fouled.
Yeah.
We're not even doing it as English either. We're going to do this as all languages because we're not going to be. We're going to be inclusive of all Earth languages, and then all languages of the other planets as well.
Interesting.
Yep, it's all about inclusion.
Would need subtitles. You would definitely need subtitles. So.
Well, no, because we also need to make sure that people who can't read are not offended. So we can't be having words that would offend them. They would say, "Why'd you make this with words? You know I can't read."
I see.
The Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good. We need to think of everyone. And we can't
I think this conversation has evolved into a lot of insanity.
We can't risk offending anyone, so we need to be...
I think at this point maybe the French people should make Stargate.
The French people. Oh. Now you're talking about the Paris Climate Accord.
Oh, man.
Greta Thunberg. How dare you! How dare you!
And the thing is, here's another thing that you could bring into Stargate is an allegiance with the Space Force.
The United States Space Force? That's nationalism.
The Space Force could be an included thing in Stargate.
It sounds like white nationalism when you say that to me. Who made a Space Force? Hitler. Orange Hitler made Space Force, so why would we ever talk about that in a positive light? Anything Orange Hitler did is bad. Don't you know?
Well, hey, you supported him more than anybody I know.
I don't think so. It was all a ploy to get into the white supremacists to try to get some real...
Oh, you were a mole, I see.
Yeah, a mole. That's right. I molded my way in.
Huh.
Yep, that's why I support Joseph R. Biden.
Robadoo.
The most popular president ever.
I see.
Yep, 81 million. Mr. 81 million. That's what I call him, Mr. 81 million. What are your thoughts on how you would remake the Stargate franchise? What would you do differently than what I've said? Than what I've said. Any thoughts? Any additional thoughts?
Nope.
Okay. Got anything on Tom Cruise you want to talk about today?
I have a list.
Oh, a list. Okay. Yeah, go ahead with that. How long is the list?
It's a top 20 list.
What time do we got right now?
I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do this list today.
Can we save it for tomorrow?
Yeah, probably.
Top 20 sounds like 3 hours.
Well, it depends on whether or not I read the information included or not.
Let's save the 20 list for tomorrow. That's a good list. It's not going anywhere. What else do we got? What do we have that we can fill 10 to 15 minutes with?
10 to 15 minutes, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, Professor Bam's going to need to be fed again, probably. My whole day is planned around that, you know?
Huh. Oh, let me look into the Tom Cruise stuff real quick. What do I got?
Let's still go to the end of this game. I think it'll be about 10 to 15 minutes.
I see. Okay, let's read a little bit about how Tom Cruise grew up. How about that?
Yeah, where is Tom Cruise from? What's the story of Mr. Cruz?
Louisville, I think. He started out in Ottawa and moved to Louisville, but
Ottawa, Canada?
I don't know.
Is Tom Cruise a Canadian? A Canuck? Why are all the good actors Canucks?
He was born in Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
I'm not certain. Hold on. He was born in Syracuse, New York. Let me just read this.
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Thomas Cruise Mapother the fourth.
His last name is Mapother?
Mapother. Mapother. Mapother.
Oh.
The fourth was born on July 3rd, 1962, in Syracuse, New York, to Thomas Cruise Mapother III, an electrical engineer, and Mary Lee Pfeiffer, both of Louisville, Kentucky. His grandfather and great-grandfather were both Thomas Cruise Mapother as well.
Wow.
He has two older sisters, Leanne and Marion, and one younger sister, Catherine, nicknamed Cass. Cruise wanted to act from around the time he was 4 and started doing impressions of everyone from Donald Duck to Humphrey Bogart and Elvis Presley. In 1974, when the family was living in Ottawa, Mary Lee packed up and took the kids back to Louisville. They officially divorced in August 1975. His parents, I guess, divorced in 1975, and 6 weeks later, Tom's dad remarried. Joan Lebendiger, recently widowed, had 4 kids, one of whom later told the biography Andrew Morton that they never saw their stepbrother Tom again after the wedding. That marriage didn't last long anyway. As a kid, I had a lot of hidden anger about that. I'd get hit, and I didn't understand it, Cruise recalled to Vanity Fair in 1994. He was the kind of guy who really got picked on a lot at school himself when he was growing up, Cruise said. Oh, he's talking about his dad. He had also been small, though he ended up being 6'2". People had been quite brutal to him. Inside, I believe he was a really sensitive individual. He could also actually be quite loving.
Mm-hmm.
More pointedly, Cruise told Parade in 2006 that his father was a bully and a coward. The person where if something goes wrong, they kick you. It was a great lesson in my life, how he'd lull you in, make you feel safe, then bang. Cruise visited his father in the hospital before he died of cancer in 1984, and Tom III said he'd get better if they would talk about the whole thing. Cruise told Vanity Fair, but that never came to pass. Tom was very close to his mother, who he described to James Lipton on Inside the Actors Studio as a very warm, charismatic woman, very kind, very generous. She worked 4 jobs, and at any given time to take care of them, and Tom had a paper route to pitch in. Every night I'd come home, bathe my feet, and sit in the family room, and Tom would massage my feet for a half hour, Mary Lee recalled to Rolling Stone. She passed away at 80 in 2017.
Every night he rubbed her feet. Wow.
Huh?
That's amazing. I've never heard of every night someone rubbed someone's feet. That sounds like it's a stretch.
Like what?
A stretch. It sounds like a stretch.
Well, it's just his mother saying it. So.
Yeah.
He was also protective of his sisters, as the man of the house took on the role of scrutinizing their boyfriends when they'd come to meet the family. Cruise was raised Catholic and spent his freshman year of high school at St. Francis Seminary in Cincinnati, after a priest named Father Rick Schneider gave a talk to his also Catholic school in Louisville. He was a typical teenager trying to find his way in life, Schneider told the New York Daily News in 2013. We would give them an IQ test, and he just about made the cut. The cutoff is 110, and he scored exactly 110. What? Hold on. Okay, so this Catholic school was giving kids an IQ test? What? I don't know.
Regarding what?
I don't know. The cutoff for it apparently is 110. Maybe it's to get accepted into their school. I don't know. Anyway, it's been rumored that Cruise considered money back then, and I went for the education for a year, and it was free, Cruz has explained. Mary Lee got remarried to Jack South in 1978, and the whole family moved to New Jersey when Tom was 16. In the beginning, I felt threatened by my stepfather, Cruz told Rolling Stone. There's a part of you that's in love with your mother, but he's such a wise, smart man. He loved my mother so much that he took us all in. 4 young people. We'd bet on football games, and he was a terrible bettor, so I'd make lots of money. As for his dad, Tom III, who had recently passed away, I think that he felt remorse for a lot that happened. He was a person who did not have a huge influence on me in my teens. The values and motivation really came from my stepfather, but he was important, really important. It's all sort of complex. There wasn't one thing I felt. He was always a daredevil, jumping off things, riding his bike too fast, sometimes into walls, and sometimes breaking bones. In high school, he joined the Glee Club and did plays. He was also an athlete, over the years dabbling in soccer, basketball, baseball, football, and ice hockey, and he wrestled. Sports and acting were where he really stood out, and shocker, the ladies loved him since grammar school. I was a wild kid, Cruz admitted. I'd cut school. Everything had to do with my wanting always to push the envelope to see where do I stand with myself, how far can I go. Cruz has been open about his battle with dyslexia, calling himself a functional illiterate in school. Though he loved learning, I wanted to learn, but I knew I had failed in the system. My energy was always all over the place. Reading was not at the top of my list because it took me so long, he told Cameron Crowe for an interview in 1986. When I wrote a paper, my mother would help me with it. I would take a test and get very nervous. I would skip questions and skip lines. I've gotten better. I've learned to control my eyes. I used to have to use my finger all the time. I just wasn't relaxed about it. Senior year of high school, he got kicked off the football team after he got caught drinking, according to Andrew Morton. But that left him time to audition for the school musical, Guys and Dolls. He played Nathan Detroit, and a commercial director who happened to catch a performance told him he should pursue acting professionally. So he started going to New York on weekends to audition for musicals, and he missed his graduation ceremony while performing in an amateur production of Godspell. Anyway, so that's how he grew up, and then it goes into movies. I wanted to just keep it to how he grew up, so.
So we just found out that Tom and I both share overcoming dyslexia in our lives. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Did I talk about that on the pod? How I couldn't read? Yeah, I did. Remember I said I was basically retarded.
Well, for those who can't read good.
Yeah. Derek Zander. Derek
Also,
Zander.
sounds like he had a lot of abuse from his actual father. He had a stepfather, too, but
Yeah.
he sounds like a scary guy. Anyhow.
Cool, man. That was a great article. I like to know about
It's only
Tom.
part of the article. This is an article that is just like
Oh, you got 5 minutes or so. You want to read a little more? That was great. I love learning about Tom.
We'd stick to him growing up for this one.
Oh, you want to do segments? Then tomorrow we can do.
Yeah. I don't want to Yeah.
Okay, well, let's for the next 10 minutes. Let's just chit chat then, like we usually
Okay.
do. Let's pretend that I just shut off the pod and we'll just talk like we normally do.
Well,
You know what I
there's
mean?
personal talk about when we shut off the pod. So.
What's that? Personal
there's
stuff.
Personal things we talk about when we shut off the podcast. So.
Man,
I don't
tell me
necessarily want to go
about
into that, but
what
we
did
can talk
you
about,
what'd you have to eat today?
lasagna.
That
Yeah, we had
sounds
lasagna for dinner
good.
tonight.
Lasagna sounds good, man. Okay, anything else with the lasagna, or was it like you homemade
Side
the
of
lasagna?
Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese and lasagna. That sounds good.
Yeah, the niece was here for a while. She didn't stay for dinner. It's kind of, sometimes she decides to stay for dinner, sometimes she leaves before.
Really?
So.
She didn't stay for lasagna? After you
No.
spent 2 days preparing and cooking fresh lasagna?
I think too long for her. She likes it when she gets things when she wants them.
What's that song? You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. Yep. Remember when all those bands told Donald Trump he can't play their songs? And he was like, fuck you, I'll play whatever I want. That's great.
Yeah, well, if those artists hadn't leased their songs to those
Venues.
things where people can basically rent them to play in their venues, then, you know, they'd have had a say in it, but they didn't really.
And he, because of the way he did things, he was getting their songs for very cheap. So whatever the fee he would pay, $10,000, and he would get the arena or whatever it was, then he got the music too, and it was a big deal. It was a big deal to have that music, and we always got to end it with YMCA.
Yeah.
Oh man, is anybody else out there missing that terrible orange man? I had a friend today text me a picture of him. Said, just in case you missed this face, it was that terrible orange man making a weird face. I do miss that face. I do. It's boring. Robadoo is boring. What can I tell you? Boring and a puppet. The puppet. If there's ever been a puppet, this is the puppet of all puppets.
Didn't he have trouble recently for making some sort of a sexist remark?
Did he? Look that up. I don't know.
I think.
Robadoo did?
Yeah, you said something. Joe Biden's freshman remark about nurse raises eyebrows.
What did he say?
Hold on, let me read the article.
Yeah. Please. I want to know.
This is from Pop Culture, and it was written by Allison Shanter, February 9th. So that'd be like today.
Today?
Yeah. President Joe Biden raised plenty of eyebrows and sparked some backlash online following an awkward moment on Monday, during which he told a nurse running a coronavirus vaccine site that she looks like a freshman. The remark came during a live video conference event with healthcare workers in Arizona, with both the President and Vice President Kamala Harris joining the call to discuss the ongoing nationwide vaccination efforts. As Nurse Brittany Hayes finished describing the process for residents to get the vaccine, which she dubbed a dose of hope, Biden questioned her age, asking, "Are you a freshman at the university?" Hayes, who had described herself as being from the Arizona State University but made clear she was the head charge nurse at the vaccination site, responded to the president's question with no. The president, however, was persistent, adding, "You look like a freshman."
He was offending her.
Front line pandemic. Hayes replied, "Why, thank you."
Wow, that's very sexist. There's a couple problems with that. That's ageism, sexism. Wow. Mansplaining. It's all the bad things.
After Harris took a turn asking the tough questions, Biden again seemed to return to the topic of Hayes' youthful appearance. He asked, "And you're a nurse?" Hayes responded, "I am. I'm a nurse. I'm an RN. I've been an RN for about 9 years now." Biden then went on to praise nurses, stating, "Well, I know, having been a significant consumer of health care, I can tell. I know the vice president knows this. When I say it, doctors let you live. Nurses make you want to live. If there's any angels in heaven, they're all nurses, male and female." That's not an exaggeration. The moment stirred up plenty of discussion online, with former President Donald Trump's oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., simply writing, "Cringe." Another person dubbed it old school sexism, with somebody else questioning, how hard is it to talk to women without referencing their looks?
Mm-hmm.
After not everyone took issue with the encounter, with one person writing, he is paying her a compliment in an old-fashioned but well-meaning way. Several others pointed out Trump's own history, with another person writing, OMG, it was a compliment. Stop making him out to be creepy. He didn't suggest grabbing her P-word.
He has
It's
suggested
apparently
lots of things
acceptable,
like that. He's suggested a lot of things like that in the past.
Well, isn't Joe Biden actually accused of something like that?
Yeah, lots of things. Nobody will talk about it, but yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't Joe Biden actually accused of sticking his hand into somebody's without any permission?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure was, but they
That's
wouldn't
what he-
talk about that.
Tara Reid was her name.
Tara Reid, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to Tara? How come nobody takes her seriously?
I don't know.
I think there's the wrong
But
political
that was
sign beside the
accusation,
name.
according to Tara Reid.
Women are to be believed unless they're accusing a Democrat.
That comment was in reference to the 2016 Access Hollywood tape in which Trump made disparaging comments about women. This was not the first awkward encounter for Biden, who was nicknamed Creepy Joe by Trump and his supporters during the 2020 campaign trail.
Creepy
Biden
Joe.
has faced scrutiny for his interactions with women and young girls, including introducing, this says introducing, but they mean intruding.
It's
including
funny.
intruding their personal space.
It's funny that they know that Sleepy Joe actually means Creepy Joe, but he doesn't say it.
Yeah. Right. The New York Post notes that at the beginning of the 2019 campaign trail, he released a video in which he acknowledged making people uncomfortable and promised to be much more mindful in the future. Yeah, the rest of his campaign trail was COVID-19, 6 feet apart, wear a mask so people can't,
Come on,
they can't
man.
smell people, Joe.
Come on, man.
Actually, no. Hey, let's finish the campaign with him stuck in the basement so he can't grope kids or sniff them. Right.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
That's why they were keeping him in the basement. It had nothing to do with COVID.
I know about roaches.
If they had Joe Biden on an actual campaign, going and seeing people and shaking hands, there would be so much that we would have seen that would have really discouraged a lot of people to vote for
You
Joe
realize
Biden.
they're keeping him to like 10-minute segments and that's like the max. And he's fucking stuff up in 10 minutes. Yep.
But I mean, there's so many pieces of evidence of him sniffing and groping children and women. It's just like, and okay.
Yep.
No, this is just a normal guy. He's gonna build back better.
When I was in law school, proudly for Holloway, proudly for your dad, first African American state senator in the state of Delaware. Everything about. And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what, the men, they're now all men, the guys I work with down here, and they're all guys at the time. They're all good men. Most of them made an awful lot of themselves. And Earl Larkin had a rough time. And some of you knew Earl. I came back as a public defender.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Robadoo.
What we need to do, and if we had editing capabilities, it would be absolutely great to get a clip where it sounds like Biden and Tom Cruise are in an argument.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Unfortunately, we're not that smart.
So Tom Cruise was born in the USA, almost on the 4th of July, too, just the day before. He could be our first Scientologist president.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
You think that'll happen? Is there any chance of that?
That might, I don't know, man. That might actually be insane. Yeah. I mean, people looked askance at Mormon Mitt Romney running for president.
You're telling me you wouldn't vote for Tom Cruise? I would.
I don't know, man. It would, you know what? It would kind of depend on his policies.
Not for me. It's all about the looks.
Well, Tom Cruise is famously on the shorter side, and usually the candidate that wins the taller
That's why I
one.
would vote for him, because there's a discrimination against short people. I want diversity and inclusion. And he has a black son.
And are about the same height.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but I think Biden might be slightly smaller or slightly shorter.
Then Cruise?
And I think that there was a lot of editing to make Biden look taller and Trump look shorter throughout. Yeah, I think they did that.
Alexa, how tall is Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is 6 feet tall.
He's my height.
The tallest president in U.S. history.
How
Yeah.
tall is Donald Trump?
Trump is 6'3", I think.
Ah.
Biden is 6 feet tall. Trump is 6'3".
Right, but I'm saying that I noticed that they tended to make Biden look taller.
They did. Yeah, they did. I wonder why that is.
Yeah. Because they know that the taller candidate is usually the one that wins.
Yeah, there you go. It was a
And
scam.
a lot of that is affected by the perception, what we see on TV. So
We never really got to see Biden. Biden was in those high school
You see
gyms.
them standing next to each other because of the COVID thing.
Yep.
In any other series of debates, you'd see the two candidates standing next to each other, and you could see the height discrepancy.
Yep.
I think they actually were using separate cameras for both Biden and Trump.
Yep. Probably so. That's interesting. That's a major point you just made. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yep, I never even thought of that. Interesting. I wonder if anybody else has
the
written
taller
about
candidate
that.
wins, so it's
Yeah,
kind
has
of another one of those weird things.
Has anybody written about that? Do we know?
I don't know. I have no clue.
I just want to point out that's an A-plus point by you. I appreciate that. That's something that I'm going to be thinking about all night long. Good point. My dogs are drinking now, so that means it's time for us to go. The Benona Buck Podcast, episode 26, has been fan-damn-tastic. We appreciate the fans. We appreciate the fam. We appreciate all yo haters out there. We appreciate all yo Scientologists out there. Keep hitting up our videos. Keep giving us those upvotes and down. Either way, baby, this is our town. Thank you for coming on the Benona Buck Podcast.
Hey,
Rose, thank you
if
for...
they're gonna downvote, they should at least comment why.
Tell us why it sucks, yeah. Tell us why you like it. Tell us about the things you like to hear about. What do you like to hear? We're here for you. We're here for us, really, 100%. But if there's some shit you want us to talk about, let us know. If there's shit you don't like hearing about, let us know. Okay? We love y'all. Peace. Till number 27, we'll see you guys back here again, maybe tomorrow. See you then.